Research actually is both for primary and secondary source, how Sri Lanka would meet the challenge of cyber security challenge in our times. This is not Sri Lanka's problem alone. I've come from the United States. Cyber security has changed the politics in the United States, and that debates continue even today. It's a huge challenge. So, very welcome. Please come and let's hear what you have to say, madam. Ms. B. Senaratne.
Thank you, Session Chair. Distinguished invitees, members of the panel, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As a caveat before I start my presentation, I would like to state this study is part of a larger research study I'm working on. Therefore, due to the nature of the study and the deep interest the present government has shown in this area, the subject is evolving, and I have not anticipated the ongoing work that is taken place in the field, addressing the threats in the cyber domain. As such, I'm focusing on dynamics in cybersecurity in the Sri Lankan context and seeing what sort of challenges we are facing. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is witnessing an exponential growth in technology. Technological developments have taken place annually, making technology accessible to individuals and communities that were previously not able to access it. According to the International Telecommunication Union, 47%, or approximately 1 out of 2 people in the world, are using the internet. Mobile technology is penetrating every nook and corner of society due to its affordability, thus enabling even non-state actors and terrorist groups to make use of it. Accessibility and affordability thus increases the threat individuals, states, and companies face. But it should also be noted that even though technology is accessible, there are an equal number of the world population who still do not have access to this convenience and communication. 47% of the world, according to the director of the ITU, Telecommunication Development Bureau, Brahma Sanau, over 2/3 of the world population lives within an area covered by a mobile broadband network, and ICT services continue to become more affordable. As of 2013, the number of Sri Lanka's internet users was recorded as 21.90% of the total population, which is approximately a 6% growth from the previous year. Taking this growth projection, it can be understood that within a few years, half of the country's population will be connected to the internet as a result to the entire world. Therefore, with these statistics and growth projections under its belt, it is crucial for Sri Lanka to contemplate on enabling national security by protecting itself from non-traditional security threats such as cyber terrorism and cybercrime. Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, the objective of this study was to examine whether Sri Lanka is prepared to face threats that could penetrate the country via the 5th domain of warfare, that is the cyber domain, and to illustrate what mechanisms the country needs to take to overcome and face these threats to national security. Towards this end, to recommend policy initiatives and legal mechanisms that could be implemented. The methodology followed for this research is qualitative and exploratory in nature, with primary data constituting of government policy documents, agreements and legal documents, discussions with officials from the armed forces, the civil and diplomatic services, and strategy documents. I also use secondary data from journal articles and statistics from both the Department of Census and Statistics Sri Lanka and the International Telecommunication Union. The study provides an assessment of the country's cybersecurity preparedness and undertakes its analysis via the realist notion of power. And towards this end, I utilized both the PESTLE and STEEP analysis tools, that is in addition to the DIME method the professor just mentioned, to evaluate cybersecurity challenges to Sri Lanka. Now I will go on to detail a little on concepts such as cybersecurity and national security, as they are important in understanding the main arguments of this research. So, cybersecurity. Coined by William Gibson in 1984 with reference to the internet and other networks, the term cyber is now being used with phrases like crime and security. According to the ITU, cybersecurity can be defined in two ways, that is, the narrow sense and in the broad sense. In the narrow sense, cybersecurity can be defined as illegal activities targeting the security of computer systems and the data processed by them. In the broader sense, it can be referred to as any illegal behavior or the illegal possession and offering or distribution of information by means of a computer system or network. So simply said, it can be termed as acts that harm security, privacy, data and information of individuals, companies, states, organizations, etc. And these security threats are various in nature, ranging from hacking to phishing attacks, harassments via emails or social media, violations on intellectual property, financial crimes, crimes against governments, and so on and so forth. There are kinds of threats that emanate from the cyber domain, which goes on to showcase that cybercrime encapsulates a broad range of activities which are both illegal and harmful to the victim. Another good definition of this term is given by the US Department of Homeland Security, which views cybersecurity as illegal activities that undermine the safety of the cyberspace by targeting its vulnerabilities, and these can be either physically or technically executed. Cybersecurity is seen as increasingly necessary and mandatory for a country due to its ability to organize and conduct traditional crimes via the cyberspace, as well as because it can harm the bilateral relations between countries via its various illegal activities. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to national security, the US legal refers to it as the protection of a state from attack or holding adequate armed forces and guarding state secrets. And here we are referring to aspects of security such as economy, energy, environment, military, natural resources, and politics. This shows that these are areas of concern for Sri Lanka when seeking to protect its national security in the cyber domain. Not only does the term emphasize that it is the foundation of freedom and prosperity within a nation, it underscores sovereignty. Another sound definition is by Papp and Alberts, who talk about the protection of a state, its territories, and its people from physical assault by external forces, as well as the protection of important state economic, political, military, social, cultural, and valuative interests from attacks emanating from either foreign or domestic sources, which may undermine and erode these interests, thereby threatening the very survival of the state. This illustrates that in the future, Sri Lanka can not only be mindful of its physical borders, but also has to be conscious of its virtual borders. Here we are talking of both military and non-military means that are utilized to protect and safeguard national security. It's without a doubt that the concept of national security is broad and that it has no clear or precise boundaries. However, factors such as wealth, geography, and military force affect and influence this broad concept. So what then are the challenges to Sri Lanka's national security? Many of Sri Lanka's businesses and government institutions have gone online. They have implemented e-government policies in an attempt to create more access and convenience to the public. Therefore, the vulnerability of businesses and individuals to attacks is increasing and would continue to increase in the future with the increased move to digital platforms. At the third annual Cyber Security Summit held 2 years back, the Minister for Telecommunication and Digital Infrastructure, Honorable Harin Fernando, stated that as businesses and societies have become networked by means of ICT, cybersecurity plays a key role and should be regarded as the highest priority. This showcases that more immediate attention cybersecurity has received from the Sri Lankan government and that it has identified the threat the country faces via the cyber domain. Ladies and gentlemen, when analyzing Sri Lanka's cybersecurity challenges, according to PESTEL, that is political, economic, social, technological, legislative, and environmental aspects, it can be understood that there are direct threats to the country's political, economic, social, and technological spheres. It also poses absolute threats to the country's legislation, as it will require new legislation relevant to the Sri Lankan context to be drafted in order for the country to face these challenges in the fifth domain of warfare. So how can Sri Lanka overcome these challenges? According to William Lin, although the cyberspace is a man-made domain, it has become just as critical to military operations as land, sea, air, or space. Therefore, whatever mechanism Sri Lanka is taking, attention also needs to be given to empower the tri-forces to face this threat.